So Helene, you know that one of the offerings of Stay Inspired is a mind map, which has been a very effective tool with many to help them gain insight and make some breakthroughs. So we did one some time ago, and I have a couple of quick questions. One is, were you scared going into it?
Was I scared going into my mind map? That's a great question. A little.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's one of those experiences where I really didn't know what to expect. I'd not heard of a mind map being done in this kind of a way before. And I'd spoken with you, Charlie, about what this might be for me. And it was at a point where I was really struggling with what do I need to prioritize as I'm going down my life path and figuring out my trajectory. There's so many options. There's so many opportunities. What am I doing? And so I thought that it would be a little bit more just on the surface than it was, but there was something in me that knew that it was going to get emotional and it was going to go deep, which is what I needed. So yes, there was a little bit of fear for me, but it was that good kind of fear that gets exciting and steps aside really quickly to joy.
I've done over 100 mind maps with different individuals, and often people come into the mind map and expect that there's an issue that they want to look at, and I've just experienced that often it's not that issue that we end up exploring. Was that your experience?
You know, I didn't have an expectation or a clear objective going in, so I didn't really have I wasn't super surprised at where we went. I kind of felt like we went exactly to the right place at the right time. I was more surprised at how specific and how open the entire experience was for me, and just how far down into the rabbit hole we dove. Well, of course there were things that came up that were a little bit difficult along the way, but it wound up being one of the best experiences of my life. I felt like I had 5 years of therapy in one session.
Yours was a long session.
It was a long session. I think we had a marathon session for me.
In fact, 4 hours.
It was longer, 4.5 hours.
4.5 hours.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's been anyone who's been longer than me.
No, not yet.
Yeah,
You're the record holder.
Thank you.
Usually it's 2 hours.
So I'm uber maxing out. But it wound up being so incredibly helpful. You know, I'm dealing with a set of concerns that I've not seen in anyone else, and I was so grateful for the space that we were able to hold as a group, the other people that were there with us. As we did it just made me feel really safe and really open and really able to talk about the things I needed to talk about. And Charlie, I felt like the whole time you were just so intuitively guiding me through talking about things, some of which I'd never spoken about in my entire life. And part of what the mind map did for me was show me that it was really okay to be sharing some of the experiences that I was having on a very consistent basis that I just didn't talk about.
Yeah, well, trust is really important to establish, or else you can't go down that rabbit hole very effectively.
No, not at all.
So the experience of looking at aspects of one's life and then leaving the mind map session and exploring it and being open about it is actually something that a lot of people experience when they go through a mind map, and it seems to be very helpful because they're dealing with things that they typically don't put out there in the open, and it seems to be very, very helpful to do that. So that's great.